All right, you guys, it's Tati back with another review. This time we are covering AEW Full Gear. Okay, so for those of you who actually watch my live stream, I stuck around for the pre-show, the actual pay-per-view, and then we watch most of the media scrum. Man, there's a lot to talk about here today. Normally, I don't talk about the pre-shows because everybody can watch those on YouTube, but it's really important to cover the Ring of Honor tag title match. Well, at least what happened after that. Obviously, Samoa Joe and MJF are partners in this match since MJF shook his hands last night saying, bitch, I don't got nobody to help cover my ass in that tag team match tomorrow. So if we're partners, I'll give you your title shot in the future. Whatever. So they're tagging with each other, and Samoa Joe, surprisingly, is actually really trying to tag with him and not have any issues. But MJF is being all stuck up and shit, like he really don't need Samoa Joe. And I'm like, yes, you do. You certainly need Samoa Joe's help. Now, the match is decent. It's not really like all that or whatever, but it's okay for a pre-show. We didn't expect to see too much out of MJF with this match, especially since he's going to be in the main event. But Samoa Joe takes the win for his team with giving one of the ass boys a coquina clutch. Now, after this, they kind of have a little bit of a stare down and they end up shaking hands. So Samoa Joe's going to have his match at some point in time. Whenever that is, I don't know. Now, Samoa Joe leaves, but I forgot to say, our brochacho, Adam Cole, is back. Well, he's limping, but he's back. He has his foot in, I guess, a cast or whatever. And he has his crutches to help him walk. So he's looking very crippled coming out there. Now he comes out there, he's celebrating with MJF, but then here comes the ass boys attacking MJF, and they put a lot of focus on one of his legs and they're slamming it. They're doing all types of moves onto his legs, making sure that he won't be able to get up. So now here we are at the point where MJF is being put on a stretcher, and they're taking him to an ambulance to the nearest medical facility. And Adam Cole was literally useless watching his brochacho getting his ass whooped and not being able to do anything. Now, I'm like, so if that's your buddy, like a real one will be like, yeah, my foot is messed up, but I'm going to go in there and help out my friends. But he doesn't do that. He just stands there in just shock and agony and wishing his friends wasn't getting his ass whooped. Now, what ends up happening a little bit later is Jay White comes out, and Jay White basically wants Tony Schiavone to announce that, the title by default goes to him. But then here comes Adam Cole, who comes out and says, oh, you know what? If MJF cannot defend the title, I'm going to defend him for him. And I'm like, bro, you're standing like a flamingo here with just one good leg, and you want to defend the what title? Please. Now, they end up showing the graphic that we're going to have Adam Cole versus, Samoa Joe, Jay White instead of MJF versus Jay White. And I'm like, this can't be real. Like, do they really want us to believe that that's what we're getting here? That whole thing, it is what it is. And we're going to go back and talk about the main event. But let's go ahead through the card and these matches and what the results were. First match on the card, we had trios action with Adam Copeland, Sting, and Darby Allin versus our stepdaddy Christian, Nick Wayne, and Luchasaurus. This match actually was okay. I mean, it was decent, but nothing over the top. Coming into this, I'm pretty sure most people thought that the babyfaces were going to take the win, which does actually happen. However, we have elder abuse going on when Ric Flair comes out. He's been ringside. He can barely freaking walk, but he's standing ringside in support of Sting's team. He actually gets into a physical altercation with Christian, and I'm really surprised that they even allowed this to happen. Now, Christian, the most he does to Ric Flair is a low blow, but for a man who's like, in his 70s with a pacemaker, I don't know why they allowed for him to get physically involved in this match. Now, they obviously keep Adam and Christian away from each other throughout this match. I know we're definitely going to get these two alone at some point. So for the most part, I think we've seen Darby taking the beat down a lot for his team. But Christian actually leaves his team high and dry after that little scuffle that he has with Ric Flair, and he ends up leaving them running throughout the crowd, and we don't see him anymore. And now we have Nick Wayne and Luchasaurus having to fend for themselves, and obviously Adam Copeland takes the win after a spear, pinning Luchasaurus. The match was okay, but it wasn't all that. It is what it is. Now after that, we do have the international title on the line, Jon Moxley versus Orange Cassidy. I enjoyed this match. On the live stream, I even had everyone like place their bets, like how many minutes will it take before Jon Moxley started bleeding. The lowest amount of time was actually 2 minutes, but I predicted 5 minutes, and I was actually right on the dot. In 5 minutes, Moxley's already leaking. This is actually a really great match, and I did enjoy this exchange between the two of them. However, in this match, in comparison to the other match that they had before, Jon Moxley seems slightly a little bit invincible here. No matter what Orange Cassidy does to him, he's eating all those hits. Like, he's like making it seem like, you know, no matter what you do to me, I'm not going to be fazed by it. And that was what was going on for the majority of this match. Typical thing that we get with Orange Cassidy. And for whatever reason, all that shit works, and it turns out to be a really great match. Now, Orange Cassidy ends up retaining the international title after 6 orange punches. And you know what? I was really surprised that it was going to take 6 of them. Jon Moxley was absolutely resilient here, and I'm really curious to see, like, where do we go with both of these guys, especially Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy, to me, the gimmick is it's definitely stale at this point. I never really cared for it, but it's just like we feel like we're getting the same thing with Orange Cassidy all the time. So I don't know what they're going to do in terms of moving forward. We're keeping things fresh with our freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy here. Later on in Scrum, he's answering questions, and he did confirm that he's the one who draws all the little pre-K drawings that you see on the big screen during his entrance. So that was actually cool to know who was behind all that. But great match, really enjoyed it. I would have really hoped Moxley would have taken the win. Now after this, we do have the AEW Women's World Title on the line, Hikaru Shida versus Toni Storm. This was interesting. Obviously, Toni Storm comes out with Luther, and Luther has a tray with a whole bunch of shit on it, of like her shoes. I know there was a pearl necklace. There was like a plate on there, a silver plate on there. Something else I can't remember. And he's ringside with Toni Storm. Now, the match is decent. I think overall, when I look back at the match, I do think that it could have been better in terms of the in-ring work. I think there was a lot of more focus on Toni Storm's character. And I don't know if this is going to be a problem in the future. I understand there's a character that they want to portray here in the match, but I don't want them to lose the match quality because they're focusing so much on showing us, oh, this is a timeless Toni Storm. We want her to get over with everyone. So that was the only little problem I had with this match. However, Toni Storm tries to cheat by hitting Hikaru Shida with one of her shoes. That doesn't work. Hikaru Shida ends up kicking out. Match continues. After Hikaru Shida, she only goes for one katana, or I think only one time. And Toni Storm obviously kicks out of that. And then I'm just wondering, okay, where are we going with this here? People definitely want Toni to win. I personally prefer to have seen Hikaru Shida retain the title. But then she goes back to the corner with Luther, and Luther give her this silver plate, and she puts it in her pants, but like where her pantyhose are, so it could hold onto that. And she ends up giving Hikaru Shida a hip attack with that plate on her butt. So obviously that plate being out of whatever it's made out of, it obviously hurts Hikaru Shida, and she actually wins with that. In my opinion, this is something that we have not seen in a long time, something like that. I didn't really find it to be creative. I wish they would have went about this another way, a more creative way. But either way, we got a winner with Toni Storm. Interesting enough, after she wins, Mariah May comes out with flowers. She's all happy that Toni Storm has won. Toni Storm is, who the hell is this bitch? I don't know why she's out here, but it's my time to celebrate. So I do feel like maybe we might see some type of alliance with Mariah and Toni Storm after obviously Toni Storm acknowledges Mariah at some point. The match, like I said, could have been better if it wasn't such a huge focus on Toni Storm's character. But congrats to Toni, we got a new champion. Up next, we have the AEW tag titles on the line. Big Bill and Ricky Starks versus FTR versus Rush and Dralistico versus Malachi Black and Brody King. This was a really great match. I think the first thing I noticed here, for a ladder match, the tag titles were hanging pretty low. Someone did bring up the point that perhaps for safety measures, the titles were not hanging as high as usual. So I guess I can understand that. So most of the ladders were actually pretty short, and I think there was one really tall ladder. Really great match. I enjoyed everyone here. We didn't see Ricky Starks that much in this match, which actually kind of surprised me. By the time the match was over, I was like, damn, where was Ricky pretty much this whole thing? We got to see a lot of all the other teams, I think more than the actual champions. But I don't blame them. At the end of the night, they really have to just make sure that they end up retaining those titles. So if they stay fresh and end up climbing the ladder to get the titles, then I get it. Now, Brody King, this dude was leaking all over the place. So much blood, especially in this pay-per-view period. But there was a lot of crazy spots with these ladders that made me feel really, really, concerned for these guys. The last time I remember we seen a ladder match was another tag team, the Reach for the Sky tag team ladder match, where Dante had ended up broken his leg. So, with these type of situations, you just want everyone to be safe or whatnot. And they really brought their A game with this match, especially House of Black. They seemed really, really hungry for those titles. And Rush and Dralistico was doing their thing too. I just did not want to see FTR having the titles again. Best case scenario was Ricky and Bill retaining, because I feel like we didn't see too much of them as tag champions. And that's exactly what ends up happening. Ricky was about to fall off the ladder, and Big Bill catches him and makes sure he gets it straight to the top and takes the tag titles down, and they end up retaining. And I think that was the right call in terms of them winning. They're, the younger guys, they don't have as much experience, and I just found out that was Big Bill first time ever having a title in professional wrestling at all. So that was pretty interesting to see how, they end up winning, but I still want to see more from them as a team. Now, so up next, we have the TBS title on the line. Julia Hart versus Chris Statlander versus Sky Blue. They do have a really great match here. All these girls were really hungry for the win. Obviously, Chris Statlander does not need to be pinned in order to lose the title. So either the other two girls can pin each other for the win. Right from before they even announced this match, I kept thinking the next person to win the TBS title should be obviously Julia Hart. Now Julia Hart gets this opportunity in somewhat of a rematch, but this time we have Sky Blue in this match, and I felt really great looking at all these girls, especially Julia Hart. She has come a long way from being a cheerleader that really wasn't getting over to what we see right now with her being in the House of Black. Thank God Julia takes the win here. She ends up pinning Sky Blue for the win, and Chris Statlander just looked absolutely shocked. This was the right call. Everything that we've been seeing with Julia up until this point, she's definitely earned it, and this is exactly what she deserves. Later on, during the media scrum, those stupid journalists was asking stupid questions like, oh, how does it feel to be the only person in House of Black with the title? Oh, do you feel like you should be in House of Black since you're the only one with the title? Like, what the hell are y'all asking this girl? Like, let's talk about her accomplishments and things that she's been able to achieve in a business, but y'all still asking all these questions about House of Black. That really, really pissed me off. But anyway, congrats to Julia Hart. She absolutely deserved this win. I can't wait to see what they do with her title run. Obviously, situation is not over with Sky Blue and Willow Nightingale. And obviously, Chris Statlander is definitely going to get a rematch, obviously, if she's going to ask for it. So the storyline is not over. And congrats to Julia Hart. She's been doing absolutely phenomenal. And speaking of phenomenal, match of the night, the Texas Death match with Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page. I was absolutely blown away. All right, so right before that amazing match, we actually had the person who signed with AEW being revealed to be, drumroll, Will Ospreay. I wasn't shocked, but I wasn't, I don't know. I guess I was hoping that it would have been Mercedes or someone else. It just seemed like Will Ospreay kind of already is in AEW, so something about it wasn't as exciting for me. We do get a chance to hear from him, and he does have to finish up his contract with New Japan, which will be over in February, I believe. And he'll be ready to go by Revolution, which is in March. So congrats to Will Ospreay. Now on to that Texas Death Match. Holy crap. I 100% recommend this match. However, not everyone is going to be able to sit through it. These two guys, if you didn't think this was pro wrestling, you would think that these two guys got something really personal with each other. The way that they went at it, it was absolutely insane. Hangman starts off with, before I even get there, they had, for Swerve, they had these girls dancing with Prince Nana. It was freaking lit. I love it. And I never say lit. It was so, so good. I absolutely loved that. And then Swerve comes out. The way they did it was just perfect. Loved it. Okay, now Hangman, he does take control in this match. Actually, I think he had majority of the control in this match. And Swerve took so much from Hangman. It's absolutely insane. Like, literally within the first few seconds, Hangman is already going for a buckshot lariat, which kind of took me by surprise because it was like literally seconds in the match. And he ends up taping up Swerve's wrists together so that he couldn't do anything. And he spent a good while attacking him before Prince Nana ends up cutting that duct tape. And whatever brand duct tape y'all using, like, I need to know, because that thing was strong as hell, holding down Swerve's wrist for quite some time. Now, everything you could think of, like, obviously, we had chairs. The chairs was had barbed wire wrapped around it. They were using that. They was using, barbed wire by itself. One of those times, Swerve went to, I guess he was trying to put it around his neck, but it got on his face, and then it was just so gruesome. Swerve was leaking like crazy. I have not seen, like, Jon Moxley, I haven't even seen Jon Moxley leaking like that. Like, it was absolutely insane. I was really concerned, especially for Swerve, because the amount of blood that just kept falling down his face. And I was like, yo, this is the type of blood loss that'll get you passing out. And I was just hoping, like, the doctors and everybody better be on standby to make sure these guys are okay. Obviously, they end up finishing the match, but there's definitely a concern there with all the blood. With them having all these weapons, and you could just really see how personal it really was for Hangman. Hangman had a staple gun, and he stapled Swerve like God knows how many times. I'm gonna guess like more than 10 times probably. And one of the times that he staples him on one side of his cheek, and then that little drawing that Hangman's son did, that little painting that was on the refrigerator that Swerve had ripped up. He took that out and he stapled it onto Swerve's face. Absolutely insane. Y'all, I'm telling you, I was just like feeling some type of way watching this, because I was like, whoa, this is very intense. As great as the match was, I literally cannot say that everyone will be able to sit through watching something like this, but I do believe it was excellent what they were doing. They did the absolute most, which is what you would expect with a death match. And we even had Prince Nana getting, put through a table by Hangman as well. So, Prince Nana, he's out there. And whenever Swerve seems like he was not doing well, Prince Nana would do the dance in front of him. I don't know what, to give him some power or something so that he can be able to have the strength to move on. As insane as it is, as I'm describing it, it was just even better. Like, it was just, I was really blown away by what Hangman was doing here, because for the first time in a really long time, I'm seeing what Hangman is doing, and I'm so convinced of his character. And a lot of time you just come out there, have a match, and it's just whatever, and you probably forget it. But he really looked great here. Absolutely amazing here. Now, at some point though, the only complaint I have about this match was Brian Cage comes out and does help Swerve. Obviously, it's a death match. The only rules, well, there is no rules. So you only win being either knocked out or being counted out. So they needed to make sure that Swerve was going to take the win. And I wanted this to be clean. There's no reason why this couldn't have been clean. So that's my only complaint here. So we had Brian and Hangman in the ring for a little bit. And those two got beef. So no surprise there about why Brian would even come out and, get into it with Hangman. But anyway, Hangman gets counted out at the end and Swerve win. And I did not see that coming. I thought this was going to end up being a trilogy where we see Swerve and Hangman for a third time in the near future. And to see that it was Swerve to win this was just absolutely insane. I could not believe it. I was thoroughly surprised by the performance from these two and also the outcome of this match. And Swerve, despite everything that he went through in this match, he walks to the back on his own, and this guy looks like he's ready for some gold, and it can only go up from here for Swerve if Tony Khan plays his cards right with Swerve. Please don't fuck this up, Tony. You got someone here. Everything about him is refreshing. He's someone that could probably be one of the biggest heels in professional wrestling. Tony Khan just have to do this right. But I want to congratulate both of these guys for giving a phenomenal performance, even though it was really tough for me to watch. Man, these two guys really brought their A game here, and it's definitely one of the most intense matches I've seen in the past few years. So if you did not check this out, go check this out. This is absolutely the best match on this pay-per-view. All right, so up next we had the Golden Jets versus the Young Bucks. And I'm not gonna lie, after seeing Swerve and Hangman, it's just like, what can the other matches do to compete with that? And that right there kind of brought the show down. First of all, I don't even know why they actually had this match right after Swerve and right before the main event. Something felt a little awkward with that. This match was my least anticipated match. It was decent, but there really wasn't anything to really interest me. And like I said, I was still so shook about seeing what happened in a match before that it kind of just didn't really matter to me in terms of who's going to win. Now, so what was on the line here was that if the Young Bucks loses, they loses their number one contendership for the AEW tag titles, and the Golden Jets were to get that. Chris Jericho was bleeding on his arm when one of the Jackson brothers had slammed his arm into the steel steps, and they kept working that arm for pretty much the whole match. Later on in the media scrum, Chris Jericho said he got 10 stitches on his arm or whatever. The match was okay. They kind of tease a little bit like Kenny Omega was going to turn on Chris Jericho, which was really interesting. I don't know if they're foreshadowing anything at this point, but that obviously doesn't happen. And interesting enough, the Bucks even did a one-winged angel in this match too. But it still just wasn't interesting enough after watching what we just saw in the match before. But obviously the Golden Jets end up taking the win, which I'm cool with. So now the Young Bucks, they do not have their number one contendership for the AEW tag titles. During the media scrum, Chris Jericho does, have a moment where he's telling Billy Starks and Ricky Starks and Big Bill that, the Golden Jets were coming for those tag titles. Now, I don't mind seeing that match, but I don't want to see y'all win it. And best case scenario would be for Ricky and Bill to retain those titles. But we'll see. I don't know. The match was okay, but I'm not recommending anything. Now let's talk about the world title match. I thought this was going to be match of the night, and honestly, I did not like this. All right, so MJF obviously is at the hospital, and Adam Cole is supposed to take his place to defend the title. Now, Adam Cole comes out. He's wearing exactly the same shit he wore when he first came into the building. He didn't even look like he was really going to get into any fight. So I was like, okay, that's not happening at all. However, right before anything can even happen, before the bell rings, here comes MJF, pulled up in the ambulance. He drove it his damn self, and he's ready to come in this fight. Exactly what I thought was going to happen. He gets into the ring, and the whole time he's limping with that leg, and Jay White is working that leg the whole entire match. No matter what MJF does, that leg is obviously an obstacle. And he even puts himself in an even worse spot by doing moves where he's hurting himself more with this leg injury. Personally, I felt like we didn't really need all this. This whole leg thing, I think, took away from the quality of the match. You mean to tell me that you've been beefing with Jay White this whole time? Jay White been parading around America with the Triple B. Y'all finally get in the ring together, and now we're just going to be playing off this little stupid leg injury, which took away the quality of the match. Absolutely. Y'all focusing so much on trying to make MJF look bigger than what he is, and I think he's already proven how big he is, and we could have just had a straight up match with these two guys, but instead you want to add drama into this, and it took away what would have been a very, very good match. And like I said, I thought this would be match of the night, and this whole drama stuff took away what was important with this match, which was the quality of the match that these two could have had in the ring. Adam Cole is ringside, useless as fuck. But the commentators keep saying, oh, he's a distraction for MJF. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's not a distraction. He's just not helpful to MJF. Several times MJF tries to, have Adam help him, obviously to cheat to win. But Adam is even useless with that. So it's like your leg is fucked up. Your hands are fucked up too. When you're supposed to hand over the dynamite ring to MJF, somehow Jay White ends up getting it. And it's just like, bro, like, what are you good for when you're kind of not helping your friend win when you're trying to cheat to help him win? It was just a little bit too much. Like I said, the storytelling here was not great. And them trying to flip the script on this story in just one night, in the night of the pay-per-view, I think it took away a lot. This had a potential of being match of the night, maybe after what I saw with the death match. I don't know still, but this could have been at least a very close second. And unfortunately, this stupid story that y'all trying to play out is just, it took away from the match. Now, obviously, MJF ends up retaining, and I don't know where we go from here with Jay White. I just don't understand. And another thing too, they played off that stupid ref bump thing. Jay White lightly pushed onto the referee. Who was it? Paul Turner? It was very light, and Paul Turner stayed there for like 5 minutes, laid out. And the guns come out, all this foolishness. The same foolishness that we see with the Bloodline storyline that we're over with already. Y'all bringing this shit to AEW too? Like this cliche thing about the referee not being able to do their job for a few minutes because they got pushed. It's just, it's done and over with. Tony Khan, like, who is sitting there coming up with these type of ideas? This is so unimaginative, and I didn't like it. Obviously MJF ends up celebrating with his friend, and they end up leaving. The show is over. We don't get a chance to see nothing about this masked person. We don't get a chance to see I don't know, anything with Roderick or the Kingdom. Like, it just felt like they tried to change a little bit the narrative of the story during the pre-show. so that they can have more people to come behind MJF with taking this win. And I'm just like, what are you guys doing? Y'all just took something special away from this match. Now, what the hell are y'all gonna do with Jay White at this point? Jay White had a 13-0 single streak. Obviously, we knew he was gonna lose this match, but the way it ended up happening, it's just like, okay, what do we do with him now? I have no clue what's gonna happen moving forward. But anyway, the pay-per-view, I definitely say it's worth it. Some of these matches could have, been on Collision or something. But for the most part, as usual, AEW roster, they always show up and show out and give us a really good show. If I could recommend any matches, it would definitely be the Texas Death Match. If it's too much for you to see people bleeding so much and all these weapons or whatever, then maybe you won't enjoy it. But take my word from it. And take everyone else's word. I think everyone who's seen this would say that this was definitely match of the night. Don't know where we're going from here with some of these stories though. But hey, it is what it is. So we'll find out on Dynamite what's going on. I stuck around to watch the media scrum because I wanted to see what Swerve had to say after his match. And there was no Swerve. And I'm just like, oh my God, they swerved us by not having Swerve on the media scrum. But we'll get a chance to hear from Swerve, I'm pretty sure, on Dynamite. I still just can't believe what I saw when it comes to that match. Like, it's absolutely horrifying, but amazing at the same time. So if you didn't see it, go check it out. Guys, thanks so much for watching my review. I'll be back on Wednesday with Dynamite. Bye.